ahead and get started.
I'm Douglas Freese. I'm one of the co-owners of Odyssey Games. I own it with my son, David. We started about 2 years ago. Just after working in IT for 20 years, I kind of retired and decided to go along with one of my dreams, which was opening a game store. We do tabletop games primarily, which is miniature wargaming, board games, card games, role-playing games. And we have play space and a closet full of board games for people to use. We do regular tournaments and events through the week and through the year. And anybody wants to come in to play a game is welcome to.
Okay, so do you have like a social media presence? Like, how do people get involved if they want to come play?
We have a Facebook page, and but primarily we have our own Discord server where people get on and discuss what games are going on during the week, and they jump on and say, hey, I'm going to be at the store on this day, and anybody would do a pickup game, stuff like that.
And how could somebody find that?
It's the top link off of our Facebook page, and our Facebook page is Odyssey Games in Lancaster, or Odyssey Games Ltd.
Fantastic. And where are you guys located?
We are in the old Flowers by Rogers building at the corner of 5th and North Columbus.
Nice. All right. So for those who don't really understand what Discord is, could you kind of describe what that is and how it works?
Discord is an app for the phone or the computer where you can get on there and just have conversations in real time and see what people have been talking about over the course of as long as it's been up. Share pictures, stuff like that. It's pretty simple as far as all the bells and whistles. It's just kind of an open forum conversation app.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit more about the games that you guys play and how people can get involved in those games.
Well, starting with role-playing games. Role-playing games are games where you take on the role of a different persona and are presented with situations by somebody who's a game master, and you try and use that character to figure out what you're doing and how to get through it and how to survive it. It's usually 4 to 8 people plus the one running the game, and the most popular one is Dungeons and Dragons, which has been around for 45 years now, 46 years. So that's best example of role-playing games. We get those a couple of games running during the week where people will come in and play those. Miniature war games are kind of like playing soldiers in the dirt, as you were when you killed with kids, except with dice and a little bit more complex rules. It's kind of 3 hobbies in one, because you're buying these little models. Some of them are tanks, some of them are planes and little men. You put them together, so there's modeling, and then you paint them, so there's miniature painting, and then you field them onto a board, and you go compete against other people. There's multiple branches of that. There's like the fantasy, which would be like Lord of the Rings. There's the science fiction, which would be like Warhammer 40K. And then there's the historical, which is like World War II, which we have one that's called Bolt Action. That is, it's pretty popular. And also they have one called Black Powder, which is War of 1800s. Board games, of course, most people already know what board games are. The ones we have are, I think we have a copy of Monopoly somewhere, but for the most part, most of the board games we have are a little bit beyond Monopoly. Some of my favorites, actually the one that I like the most right now is this one called We're Doomed. you have 15 minutes, and this game has a 15-minute sound timer in it. So it's not, hypothetical 15 minutes. You've got a egg timer there that you flip over. You have 15 minutes to build a rocket and escape the planet because you're doomed. It doesn't exactly say why, but you have to work with the other people to build this rocket, and you're also trying to build your influence to get a position on the rocket. So you can get to a point where after the 15 minutes, the rocket only has 3 seats, and you're seat number 4, and you're not going. It's a really fun game. And that everybody's playing a nation state, and there are event cards that completely change the game every turn. And it's pretty frantic as you're watching the egg timer go and you're trying to get this thing done. We've got Munchkin, which is a very popular game. It's kind of a card game based on D&D. And speaking of card games, we have Magic the Gathering, which is the most popular card game. It's been around for 30 years now, early 90s. Yeah, 30 years. We have regular events on Friday nights and Saturdays for that, where people will come in and they build a deck out of these collectible cards and compete against each other. We also have Pokemon, which is very similar. It's more of a simplified version of Magic, which we haven't had many people come in to play that, but we have people who collect that. That's more of a collectible card. Let's see, we have miniatures for role-playing games. We have a lot of those. And we do a Wednesday night paint and take where people will come in, get a miniature, and just sit down and paint the miniatures. And that's how they've developed skills painting miniatures and hang out and talk to other people and get tips. Other than that, can't think of anything else that we really cover except for just the normal events and tournaments that we have for the different games through the week and through the year.
So the paint and take, do you guys provide anything, or do people purchase their own stuff and then bring it there?
Both. We have all the paints and a bunch of brushes and a handful of minis, and then people can buy their own minis and paint those too.
Okay. So yeah, that's nice. And then like if I wanted to get involved in this, like, do you have a schedule that's up, or how do I know when things are going to take place?
On Facebook, we did have a schedule. I think I've got to update it again since everything kind of changed over the last couple months.
Yeah.
But for the most part, people keep their ear to the Discord server and see what's going on. But it's pretty set schedule. Friday night Magic. Saturday we have another Magic tournament. Sunday we have Warhammer. Wednesday we have Paint and Take, and then there's a couple of groups of people that are playing D&D, and they have like their time set aside.
So then you're just offering the space for this. At the time for, like, right now, are the people still meeting in person, or are they doing any of this virtually or remotely?
It's dropped down a lot, but we still have some people meeting in person.
So that's the only option right now. Like, really, to do this, you have to be in person.
There's an application called Roll20, which a lot of people have been using, which is a role play to facilitate role playing online. And a couple of our groups have gone to that for the time being.
That's cool. Do they like it, or is it just the next best thing?
It's the next best thing. It's a lot different sitting at a table and looking across and seeing somebody while you're doing it than just on the computer talking to somebody.
Yeah, I feel that. It's a different feel for sure. Does anybody else have any questions that's on here? I know Joshua's on here, and he's really into games too. Do you have anything that you can add or that you want to chat about?
Yeah, I was gonna say, hey Doug, what's going on? It's JP. I don't have my moniker changed on here. So
I know, I see ya.
Could you give everybody an idea of how much it costs? Like, if I wanted to get into Warhammer and painting, what's the cost that I'm going to have to get in for that? Or if I wanted to get a starter set for D&D and try that out with my friends, what am I looking at having to pay?
Okay, like a starter set for D&D runs about $20. That's a box set. It's just kind of basic stuff to get you started. The 3 core rule books are $50 a piece, but Those are for when you're really getting into it. And you don't need all 3 of them. You just need the player's handbook to actually play. If somebody's running it, they'll need the DM's guide and the monster manual. Warhammer is more of a expensive hobby, to put it mildly. You're talking about $40 to get the basic parts, and then from there it goes up. And it's kind of how do I describe it? Different sets. So I mean, you don't buy like a Warhammer box and you start playing the Warhammer game. You kind of assemble an army. Deciding on how you want to assemble it. You can buy like you can go tank heavy or troop heavy, or there's factions that are just like drones and machines that you can use. And so those prices vary. Magic is kind of cheap. It's cheap to start, but it can get expensive if you really, really get into it. There are a lot of people who I've seen that have multiple $1,000 decks, and that's like 60 cards that cost $2,000 or $3,000. But like a basic starter pack is like 15 to 20, and then the boosters are like $4 a piece. And I think some of the best things I've seen is even in my store where somebody actually has come in with a $2,000 deck and competed against some kid that just, spent like $5 grabbing all the crazy cards he could find, and he lost. He was not happy about that, but it just goes to show that, money doesn't actually guarantee winning in that game. As far as board games, we've got some small ones like Left, Center, Right. Well, it's not really a board game, it's a dice game, but it falls under that category. So that's like $6, $7. We got some for $15, and then you get average is about 25 to 30, and then you start getting into the bigger board games that are $40 and $50. And I think we even have some of the classic Axis and Allies games. Those are, I want to say 60, but those have a lot of pieces, and actually the box is pretty heavy. So
Awesome. Thanks. I think the left, right, center is more my speed. I think it's real simple. It's you either put a left, right, or center. I'm good with that. Yeah. Some of the rules in these other ones get a little complicated for me. I know my kids collect Pokemon cards, and we have made up a game, but I'm pretty sure it's just rigged so that I lose every time. So awesome. I thought of a question there. JP, did you have anything else? Because that was a great question, just because you kind of know a lot of how this all operates and goes down.
I was going to say one of the things that Doug also does, I think it's awesome, is, and he knows a lot more about it than I do, is the 3D printing that you do in the store. I think is really cool for some of the miniatures and pieces for, your war table games. And also, man, I love that giant printer you have.
Yeah, we got to get that back up. It's kind of in maintenance mode right now. So, but yeah, that's something we were doing on the side where people could come in and bring a file, and we could print it off for them. And they get the file off. There's a website called Hero Forge where you design your own miniature, and then it's, you can see it and design it in 3 dimensions, and then download the file, and we can print it off for you.
That sounds amazing. Do you ever do any kind of process videos of when those are printing off and post that on Facebook or anything?
Actually, I think there are like 2 of them on our Facebook page where we printed off some terrain for Warhammer, and it was like a giant crater, and it looks pretty cool.
That would be awesome. So you guys seem like you're pretty set in your schedule and with the games that you play. Is there any room for if somebody wanted to, they were really into a game that you guys weren't offering and they wanted to start a group?
Oh yeah, most definitely. We've had a couple people do that, and then we'll bring in support for the game. Whatever people want to play, we'll try and support it the best we can.
Awesome. Well, this was fascinating, I thought. I know Kristen's really been into what gaming's all about too, so I'm glad she's here to check that out. All right. Does anybody else have anything? Douglas, did you have anything else that you wanted to throw in there so people know?
I guess the big thing was we're going to be doing a convention next year in
What?
Athens. Yes. I've run gaming conventions before, and so this would be the first one that we did ourselves. It'll be at the Ohio University Inn and Conference Center, March 19th, 20th, and 21st of next year. And we're getting, again, it's going to be tournaments and people playing games all weekend long, and we'll have a room for dealers to sell stuff. Yeah, usually those are really a lot of fun. Have a couple guest speakers and do a couple forums on how to run games and how to write your own games.
That's awesome. So is that whole thing in person too, or is there any virtual options with that too?
That will be in person.
Nice. That will be exciting. Well, I really appreciate you taking time, Douglas, to come in and chatting and letting everybody know about how to get involved and what all you guys do. It's pretty cool.
Well, thank you.